Imagine walking through a dense, mist-covered forest just before dawn. The air is heavy with the smell of earth and rain, and from the shadows of moss-covered stones, ancient secrets seem to whisper your name. This is not just a forest, it's a temple, a place where plants were never just plants, but allies, guardians, and gateways to other worlds. Today, we're diving deep into the world of ancient plant magic, exploring the sacred herbs that shamans, mystics, and healers believed held the keys to power, healing, and hidden wisdom. For thousands of years, across cultures and continents, human beings have turned to the natural world not just for survival, but for spiritual connection. From the shamans of the Amazon rainforest to the druids of Celtic Europe, plants have always been more than medicine. They were portals to the unseen. Their leaves, roots, and flowers carried stories, energies, and mysteries that shaped entire belief systems. And if you think this is just superstition, prepare to be surprised. Modern science is only now beginning to uncover the astonishing properties that ancient cultures seemed to know instinctively. Let's start with one of the most mysterious and powerful, mugwort. Known to the Celts as a plant of protection and prophecy, mugwort was burned in rituals to ward off evil spirits and enhance dreams. Imagine a druid standing on a windswept hill, the smoke of mugwort rising into the night sky, believed to open the gates between worlds. Even today, people use it as a tea or smudge to encourage lucid dreaming, connecting with what feels like another reality. Is it coincidence, or is there something to the idea that this humble herb has the ability to expand the human mind? Then, travel with me across the ocean to the Amazon, where ayahuasca has been used for centuries by shamans in deep, ceremonial rites. This sacred brew, crafted from the Banisteriopsis sapi vine and chacruna leaves, is said to connect humans directly with the spirit world. Those who drink it describe visions, encounters with ancestors, and a sense of merging with the universe itself. Shamanism here is not just a practice, it's a journey, guided by plants that are believed to hold voices, teachings, and wisdom beyond anything words can capture. Now let's wander into the Mediterranean, where rosemary was more than just a kitchen herb. The ancients called it a plant of remembrance, often used in funerals and sacred rites. Roman priests burned rosemary as incense to purify their temples. Greek students wore rosemary garlands to sharpen their minds. And today, studies confirm what the ancients intuited. Rosemary actually has compounds that improve memory and focus. Isn't it fascinating how what once seemed like magic often turns out to have very real, very physical effects? But not all sacred herbs were gentle or nurturing. Some were seen as both powerful and dangerous, plants of the occult, used only by those who dared walk on the edges of light and darkness. Take henbane, for example, a plant associated with witches in medieval Europe. Its hallucinogenic properties made it a feared, but sought-after ally in rituals of transformation. Witches were said to use it in their flying ointments, traveling in spirit to distant places while their bodies remained behind. Whether literal or symbolic, henbane represented the idea that plants could dissolve the ordinary boundaries of reality. And then, of course, there's sage. Across Native American traditions, sage has been burned as a sacred smoke to cleanse negative energies and invite protection. Picture a circle of people gathered under the open sky, the scent of sage rising in spirals, believed to carry prayers upward. It's more than symbolism, it's an act of connection, a reminder that plants are not passive. They are active partners in the human search for meaning, balance, and clarity. What's truly remarkable is how many of these traditions converge, even when cultures were separated by oceans and centuries. From the Siberian shamans, who used fly agaric mushrooms in their ecstatic rituals, to the African healers, who turned to kola nuts for spiritual energy, the underlying theme is always the same: plants are teachers. They are not just resources to be consumed, but living beings with wisdom to share, if we approach them with respect. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about the landscapes themselves. Imagine standing in a Celtic oak grove, shafts of light piercing the canopy, the ground rich with wild herbs. Or walking through the terraced mountains of Peru, where coca leaves were chewed not for recreation, but as sacred gifts from the gods, used in ceremonies of offering. These places are more than just geographic. They are sacred theaters where human and plant meet, exchange, and transform. Even in the Bible, herbs play a role steeped in symbolism. Frankincense and myrrh, offered to the newborn Christ, were not random gifts. They were sacred resins, valued for their ability to purify spaces and elevate prayers. Across cultures, across centuries, the idea remains: to work with a plant is to invite not just its physical qualities, but its spirit. So, why does this matter today? Because in our modern, technological world, we are in danger of forgetting this ancient relationship. We reduce plants to chemical compounds, categorizing them as useful or not useful, forgetting that for most of human history, they were our first teachers, our healers, our guides. What happens when we restore that connection? When we walk into the forest not just as hikers, but as seekers. When we light sage, drink herbal teas, or even just tend to a simple rosemary bush with reverence, we open ourselves to something far older and far more powerful than we realize. But let's not romanticize everything. Some of these plants, like belladonna or datura, are highly toxic, and their misuse has caused fear, tragedy, and myth. Ancient healers knew this too. Working with these herbs was seen as walking a razor's edge, requiring respect, knowledge, and initiation. That's why shamanism, herbalism, and witchcraft were often reserved for those trained over years, people who could navigate both the healing and the shadow sides of the green world. And this brings us back to the central question: were these ancients simply imagining powers that weren't really there? Or were they tuning into something that modern science is only beginning to rediscover? The answer may be both. The psychoactive compounds in plants like peyote, cannabis, or fly agaric have measurable effects on the human brain. But the way cultures framed those experiences, with myth, with ritual, with community, transformed them into something far greater. Plant magic wasn't just chemistry. It was a bridge between worlds. So, the next time you see a sprig of rosemary, a sage bundle, or even a patch of mugwort by the roadside, remember this: you are looking at something with a lineage as old as humanity itself. These plants carry stories of shamans and mystics, of rituals performed under the stars, of whispered prayers and powerful visions. They are, in a very real sense, our oldest companions. And maybe, just maybe, if we listen closely, they still have wisdom to share. Because plant magic is not a relic of the past, it is a living tradition. It survives every time someone burns sage to cleanse a room. Every time someone sips chamomile tea for calm. Every time someone sits under a tree and feels, if only for a moment, that the world is alive with unseen connections. The herbs are still here. The wisdom is still here. The question is, are we listening? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share this video with a friend who loves a good mystery. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next story. There's a lot more to uncover, and I'd love to have you along for the journey.